Hey everyone, Suzette West here. I am. Oh, I wonder. Okay, cool. Suzette here, and I am wanting to share my thoughts on something I read in a book called Get Together: How to Build a Community with Your People by Bailey Richardson, Kevin Hean, and Kai Elmer Soto. And the part that really jumped out at me from this book was the part that covers the secret to growing a community. And it reads, growing a community isn't about management, it's about developing leaders. With their help, your community will affect more people and sustain itself longer than you could have managed on your own. In any community, a small set of extra passionate people will do the majority of the work to push the group forward and expand what's possible. And I just wanted to just stop right there and spend some time to talk about this growing community and how it's not about management of people, but it's about developing leaders. And that leader has to start with the topmost influential leader. And from there, a spirit of mentorship and coaching is so important in that role of developing leaders. And in order to take on that role, it requires that we do some of our own inner work. Because at the heart of a resilient culture is a leader who is passionate about creating a resilient culture. It's a leader who cares about creating a resilient culture, caring enough to do what it takes to give the culture a fighting chance at being resilient. And it all boils down to the ability to emotionally self-regulate, the ability to suspend judgment, to seek to understand, and then seek to be understood, as Stephen Covey so eloquently wrote in his book, The 7 Habits. A resilient culture starts with emotional resiliency of the individuals, beginning with the topmost influential leader in the organization. Granted, it can also happen at the departmental level, because I've seen it happen. I have seen the culture of a department, a culture of a location, of a greater organization transform their location's culture, and in doing so became the best performing location of their company by transforming the culture. by making it more like a community. Emotional self-regulation is the ability to respond with intention to things that are beyond our control. When we are emotionally dysregulated, we tend to react. And emotional dysregulation means the body is stressing out. And when we're stressing out, the prefrontal cortex shuts us out of our executive thinking capacity. Our amygdala hijacks, and we start reacting. And that's where personality clashes happen. That's where communication breaks down. That's where trust is broken. At the heart of a resilient culture is the ability for the leader to become a self-regulated, finely tuned human being, fully aware and in control of our intentions. Because ultimately, it's our intention that creates the action, that focuses our attention, that creates the action, that creates the reaction or the response. So when we set an intention to suspend judgment and hear what another person has to say, to make space for people to express their ideas without judging them or making them wrong or bad. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of inner strength and inner authority to be so anchored into our own truth that we can suspend our judgment, be confident in who we are and what is important to us, that we can give grace and allow space for other voices and expression and ideas to make themselves known. So at the heart of a resilient culture is the ability to create this ripple effect, starting from personal coherence of the leadership, beginning with the most influential leader, because this is the person with enough influence to anchor meaningful change. And without that person's full support, it's at best a checkbox of compliance items, a to-do list that has no weight and no meaning. And when that happens, a lot of people, that's when trust is really broken on a collective, on the collective level. So I'm going to be showing up and I'm going to be talking more about this because resiliency is about being able to realize the bigger picture, knowing the inner resources we have to move through the challenges in a way that allows us to see the next best step forward. Because unless we have access to the part of our brain that gives us that important information and insight, we're going to be making decisions from the wrong part of our brain. And this is where a lot of situations happen, when this part is no longer accessible and this part is doing all the talking. So that is why in my A-player alignment framework, the first stage is activating inner resources, activating our inner authority, the awareness of our inner authority, and that it's there. Activation of what I like to call the inner battery, which is a metaphor for the human nervous system, but it is key to generating our resilience capacity. We can exercise it and build it up, and this is how we build up our resilience capacity. The inner battery is so important. And then activating the inner GPS, which is a metaphor for our intuitive guidance system. I know that a lot of people think intuition is a very soft thing that is intangible and woo-woo, but it's a very real thing, and to ignore it is it's perilous, because there's a difference between intuition and informed intuition. And so part of the process of emotional self-regulation is the ability to allow pieces of information to fall into place in order to get a full picture of what's really going on, in order to then feel into that information, discerning the informed intuition that guides us toward the next right step in any given situation. And so stage 1 of my A-player alignment framework is designed to do just that. Because without that activation, there is no resiliency. There is no ability to build up resiliency, to discern and allow the situation to give you the information needed to make informed decisions and to uncover the next right step, which is critical when you are talking about any kind of change management or crisis management, or anything that is a high stress situation that requires executive decision making, because that executive decision making is going to come from here and not here. So that is why stage 1, activation, is the first foundational stage in gaining alignment between A-player human beings. So with that, I'm going to conclude this brief sharing of my thoughts, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Please feel free to send me a DM. And if you'd like to discuss this more, I'm always happy to jump on a call. So feel free to send me a DM. Let me know what you're thinking and reach out and connect. Let's connect. Because the more we talk about these things, we all just benefit from it. At the end of the day, connection is a thing that heals disconnection. And there's so much disconnection going on right now. So I invite you to connect and let's chat more. You can book a call with me anytime. Just reach out to me in the DMs and we will get it on the books. And I am looking forward to meeting you. I've already met so many amazing people through LinkedIn and through other social media channels. But I've also encountered individuals who you can tell they don't, they're very down. They're very down and the world looks futile. But I implore to those individuals who look at the world with such futility, and I've said this before on different shows and recordings, where our attention goes, energy flows, and where energy flows, grows. Everything that's playing out in front of our eyes, we don't have to dwell there. We can acknowledge the unthinkable without being a subject to it. And again, it all comes back to emotional resiliency. It all comes back down to the ability to step outside of our worldviews and suspend judgment and allow our nervous systems to self-regulate. Because that is what's missing. And at the end of the day, resiliency is no longer a nicety, something nice to have. Cultural resiliency is a must-have. Thanks for listening, and until next time, have a great weekend.